as far as all the tools you're going to need to do the wiring, we'll start over here. You need heat shrink tubing, a couple various sizes will be fine. Electrical tape, 3M works great. If you're going to retape the whole harness, I would get about 5 or 6 rolls. Some tinning flux, some solder. I like the .032 die, 6040 works really well. A small set of screwdrivers. 25 watt soldering iron will work just fine. A razor knife, wire strippers, wire cutters. These are just a fancy set of wire strippers. They work really well and make the job go a whole lot quicker. And then a smaller tape measure. And that's about all you need. Okay, going over the harness, this is the SR harness, the uncut SR harness. You have your dash plug, which is going to be cut, and the KA plug will be used. You have your ECU plug there, which will stay. Coming on in, it comes in where it comes in through the firewall there with the grommet. Then we're going to go on over. Next thing in line is the O2 sensor. We're going to extend that 18 inches because it goes from there all the way over to the top of there, which we're going to make ours at 18 inches. And coming back over here, you can see it makes a loop here with a bracket there. We're going to cut ours a foot. We're going to cut that whole, every wire in there for a foot. Make it shorter so you do not have that loop. And then the rest of the stuff forward there is, it all stays the same because it all plugs right into the motor. And you have your coil pack harness right there, which goes down below. And then coming back around this way, you have your igniter chip there, plugs in. And running up the strut tower here, you have another plug, which is not going to be used. And you go on down. It goes to the chassis harness right here. You have 3 plugs. We're going to cut those off. Or you can either cut those off and solder in the KA plugs, or you can just repin them. Okay, and then coming back here, and then going off the wire right here, you run to another plug, which is not going to be used. And then your next one is your power steering plug. It's going to run all the way across the front of the car over to the plug right there. And we're going to make ours 5 foot in length. We're going to extend it 5 foot in length. And next in line is your MAFS airflow sensor plug. It's going to do the same. It's going to run across the front of the car and then run over about middle ways there. We're going to make ours 5 foot 9 inches. We're going to lengthen ours 5 foot 9 inches. And that's pretty much to show you the layout of that. To start off with, we're going to do the dash plugs. The one on the right is the KA. The one on the left is the SR. We're pretty much just going to do color for color. Okay, on both harnesses there is a black wire. It is a ground wire. There may be more than one. You're going to tie all those together. Next is a blue with a green stripe on both harnesses. Those are the AC signal. Next is a blue with a black stripe on both harnesses. That's the water temperature signal. Next is just a straight orange wire on both harnesses. It's the ignition start. Next is a yellow with a red stripe on both harnesses. It's the tach signal. And last is the yellow with a green stripe on both harnesses. It's a speed signal. As far as the KA plug, you want to cut it as close to the ECU as possible so you can have as much wire as possible. And on the SR side, you want to cut it closest to the connector. So we're going to do that now. Okay, we're getting prepped wires. We're going to strip them. Okay, we're just going to do one wire starting off to show you. You want to go ahead and get your wires prepped. You want to dip them in the flux, each one. And don't forget to put your heat shrink tubing on one of the wires before you go to solder it together. Okay, next you want to take your soldering iron and put some solder on it, and then put some solder on the tips of the wires you just put in the flux. Now you want to put the 2 wires together, put some more solder on your gun, and then solder them together. Then slide your heat shrink tubing over it, take your lighter and melt it on there. You're going to do all wires this way. Okay, now the wires that are left over, you're going to want to cut them probably about 1/4 inch apart, just so they never touch and short out. You want to do that on both ends. We're pulling this back to shorten our wires there on that end because we're going to hook up the air fuel controller, so we need to save enough room there in the front to the ECU plug.
Just cut them how far?
Probably about just like 1/4 inch apart, so they won't like touch each other when they go together.
Oh, I got you.
When they get taped up. Now we're just taping up the cut wires. Then we're going to stop right after you get past where you cut the last wire. Then take your stock plastic that was on there and just peel it back down. Okay, now we're just taping up the other end for the dash plug. You want to start at one end, go about halfway, and then come back on the other side and then go the other halfway. The reason you're wanting to come back the opposite direction is so the wires on this side will not touch the wires on the other side. And also it makes it look a lot tighter and a lot cleaner going this way. And there you have it, your dash plug is done. Okay, now we're going to do two things. We're going to extend the O2 sensor 18 inches, and then we're going to cut this loop out, which is 12 inches long, from the O2 sensor all the way to the coil pack connector. I'm going to go ahead and open up the covering there and remove it 12 inches. Really all it's doing is when you put it in the car, it loops up in the back, on the back of the intake manifold, where cutting this loop out makes it look a lot cleaner. Just be super careful not to cut any wires. Okay, on this harness you have two gray wires you're not going to cut. Then you have two thicker black wires. The harder of the two is, and the softer of the two is. You're going to cut the one wire and not the two wire. So we're going to start with the thick black wire. I'm going to bring it down to the end. 12 inches is what you're going to be cutting off. I'm going to cut it off on both ends. But leave enough so you can connect both ends on each end. Since these wires here are thicker than the rest, you want to tie these and twist them together. and solder them together. Okay, anytime you have wires like this, you have 3 wires going into one, you'll want to cut this end of it so you can just shorten this end. You won't touch this side. Because we actually have 2 here. We have a set of reds and a set of blacks. So that way you won't be messing with your connection right here. You'll just be shortening the wire. After you get done cutting everything, wires that you did not cut, you want to fold them up and fold everything up as much as possible. Of course, you're going to have some wires a little longer than the others and everything because you're not going to get it perfect. And you want to take some electrical tape and tape it up. You do not have to do this. This is just purely cosmetic. You can leave the loop if you like. You don't want to go through this trouble. Okay, now we're going to take the O2 sensor and extend it. We're going to extend ours 18 inches. Just 3 wires. I'm going to just cut them and splice in 3 more wires to extend it 18 inches. Okay, looking at the stock KA, come over here. You have the grommet that comes inside the firewall here. Then it runs in, goes up top here. Back behind them, there's 2 EGR emission sensors. Then you have your 4 injector plugs. And coming off front here, it goes to your aisle air control stuff right there for your intake manifold. This one right here is your throttle position sensor. This is the one you're going to need for your SR harness to extend your O2 sensor with. Coming down here, you have all your water temperature stuff and your NOx sensor. Then right here you have your mass airflow sensor wire. Runs underneath the air intake tube. Comes up to the mass airflow sensor there. You're going to need all that for your SR harness to extend your mass airflow sensor wiring. Just giving you the layout of all this stuff. Coming off the front here, goes over to your distributor. Okay, we have the KA harness laid out here. We're going to take the mass airflow sensor out. It's going to start right there. We're going to come on down. We're going to cut all this out. We're going to get to the TPS plug, the throttle position plug right there. We're going to use that to extend our O2 sensor with. And we're going to come on down because we're going to need probably about 5 to 5.5 foot for the mass airflow sensor where we're wanting to route it. So we're going all the way down there. We're going to cut all this insulation off, all the tape off to get the bare wires out. We're going to do that now. Cut along with the wire. Never cut across the wire or you will cut wire. Take your time. Be extra careful to not cut any wires. Or yourself. After you get all the insulation cut off, the tape cut off, just go ahead and peel the wire out. Mass airflow sensor will be a thick gray wire, and a black with a white stripe wire will be beside it. You need both of those wires for the mass airflow sensor. You'll come all the way down to the TPS, and you'll go ahead and grab the TPS plug too and pull the wire out for it as well. So we'll be needing it too. As far as the TPS plug though, we're only going to need probably about, I think we're going to extend ours 18 inches. So we're only going to need 18 inches of wire for that one. You need to do this because you need the shielded wire. You need to extend your wires with shielded wire, or else you'll have some wiring problems. Because that keeps the signal from distorting. There is another thick gray wire in your harness there, which goes to your distributor. Don't get it confused. Just grab the mass airflow sensor from where it is and then pull it down, and you will not get it confused. Okay, on the TPS plug, if you'll note, the gray and the green with the red stripe go towards the ECU, and the black one goes up towards like your water temperature sensors and everything. So we're going to cut the black one short. Really the only thing we need off this harness is that shielded wire, the gray one. So that is fine. We can extend the other two wires with regular wire. We don't have to have shielded wire for those. We just need the gray. But we're going to take the gray and the green with the red stripe all the way down 18 inches. And then we'll extend the black one later with extra wire. This is our mass airflow sensor wiring that we're going to use. We've got almost 6 foot here. That's what we have. And then we have our KA TPS plug that we're going to extend our O2 sensor with. We have probably about 20 inches there. Of course, the black wire is cut short. We'll extend it with extra wire. Now we'll go to the SR harness and wire these in. Okay, now we're going to extend our O2 sensor wire. We're going to go, since we're using the KA TPS wire, it's going to go on the SR end is brown wire, and on the KA TPS wire it is green with a red stripe. And then you're going to go black to black and white to white. Again, we're doing this because we need shielded wire. Anytime you extend shielded wire, you need to extend with shielded wire, so your signal does not get distorted. Okay, now we need to extend our black wire, because remember before we had to cut it short. So we're just using another black wire we got off the KA harness, exact same color. Okay, now your O2 sensor is extended. We extended ours 18 inches. Okay, we're going to extend our mass airflow sensor. We're going to extend ours 5 foot 9 inches. We're going to cut our connector off. We're using the Z32 MAF. If you're using the stock one, I would cut off a little more, give you a little more pigtails so you can splice it in. We're just going to cut ours off at the end because we're not going to use it. You have 3 wires. You have a black with a white stripe, you have a white, and then you have a black. In this gray wire here you have the white and the black with the white stripes that's on the side. Okay, on the mass airflow sensor wiring, we're going to go ahead and prep them and get them ready to solder together. We're going to dip them in the flux. After you dip them all in the flux, you want to go ahead and put some solder on the ends. You're going to go black to black, white to white, black with a white stripe to black with a white stripe. And the reason you do not need to hook the shielded wire up is because it's just shielding. It doesn't actually run a current through it or anything. So there's no need to wire that together. Okay, we're going to take the KA mass airflow sensor plug and cut it off. We're going to cut it off right here because if we go down just a little bit, our shielded wire actually stops. Shielding wire stops there, and then just goes to regular wire. Okay, as you can see, you have A, B, C, D, E, and F on the mass airflow sensor. That's showing you the layout for the plug. Your plug will hook in just like that. So you're going to come off that and you get the colors off your plug with those corresponding with those letters there. Okay, looking at the Z32 MAFS plug, A is not used, B is white and it connects to white on the SR harness. Next is C, it's a green wire and it connects to the black wire on the SR harness. Okay, next is D, it is black wire and it connects to C or the black wire on the SR harness. They both tie together. Next is E, it's a red wire and it connects to the black and white stripe on the SR harness.
What if I go ahead and just twist those two together?
Yeah. You just can't solder them first.
Yeah.
You won't be able to twist them.
It's hot outside. Would you play it?
I like those candles do burn all the way up.
You can do it right there though. I'll jump.
Okay, and your mass airflow sensor wire is done. Okay, next we're going to extend our power steering plug. We're going to extend ours 5 foot. This connector right here, you do not need it. We're going to cut it off. Okay, you want to go ahead and prep your wire. You want to cut the insulation off, electrical tape, whatever it is. Just cut it back so you can access the wires. Okay, you have a purple with a white striped wire and a black wire. I'm going to cut them off, give yourself a little bit of pigtail. Again, if you're using different color wires, make sure you keep track of what wire goes where. Do not forget your heat shrink tubing. Had a good dance. and your power steering line is extended. On the power steering, you do not have to do that if you don't want to. Basically, all that does is bumps up the idle when the steering wheel is all the way to the left or all the way to the right. Okay, what we're going to do now is change the connectors that go to the car from the harness. This is the KA harness, this is the SR harness. You're basically just going to use two on the SR harness. You're not going to use this one right here. You're just going to use the two here. Use the gray one and the brown one. You're not going to use the gray one with the orange middle piece in it. You can repin the wires, or you can just cut them off and solder them on. Okay, we're going to go over these wires on the plugs here that hook to the chassis. The small plug here, if you have the clip on the bottom, the top is your 1 through 4. So you have number 1 pin, number 2 pin, number 3 pin, number 4 pin. And below that you have 5, 6, 7, and 8 pin. That's how it's laid out. On the KA stock, on the stock KA plug, number 1 pin is red with a black stripe. Number 2 pin is black with a purple stripe. Number 3 pin is black with a yellow stripe. Number 4 pin is green with an orange stripe. Okay, number 5 pin is yellow with a blue stripe. Number 6 is pink. Number 7 is yellow with a red stripe. Number 8 is brown. Okay, on the stock SR small plug, number 1 pin is not used. Number 2 pin is green with a yellow stripe. Number 3 pin is brown. Number 4 is green with a blue stripe. Number 5 is green with an orange stripe. Number 6 is black with a purple stripe. Number 7 is not used on our harness. It would normally be a green with a yellow stripe, but we do not have it on our harness. Number 8 is red with a black stripe. Okay, what you have left over after you swap your wires out on the small plug, regardless if you use the KA or the SR plug, they're the same plug. In number 1 pin, you're going to end up with red with a black stripe. Number 2 pin, black with a purple stripe. Number 3 pin, black with a yellow stripe. Number 4 pin, green with an orange stripe. 5 through 8, you will not have anything in there. Okay, on the big plug, if you have the clip on the bottom, you have 1 through 4 on the top and 5 through 8 on the bottom, just like the small plug. Okay, on the KA big plug, untouched, number 1 pin is yellow with a green stripe. Number 2 is blue with a green stripe. Number 3 is orange with a blue stripe. Number 4 is black with a white stripe. Number 5 is green with a yellow stripe. Number 6 is red. Number 7 is black with a red stripe. Number 8 is green with a blue stripe. And then on the big SR plug, untouched, you have number 1 pin blue with a green stripe. Number 2 pin is black with a yellow stripe. Number 3 is not used, nothing's there. Number 4 is blue with a red stripe. Number 5 is red. Number 6 is black with a white stripe. Number 7 is not used, there's nothing there. Number 8 is black with a red stripe. Okay, what you're left with after you swapped your wires and everything on the big plug, number 1 is not used, there's nothing there. Number 2 will be blue with a green stripe. Number 3 is not used, there's nothing there. Number 4 is black with a white stripe. Number 5 is green with a yellow stripe. Number 6 is red. Number 7 is black with a red stripe. We have blue with a red stripe and a brown wire tied into that wire to get signal. Number 8 is not used, there's nothing there. The 2 wires are going to be left over is going to be a green with a blue stripe and a green with a yellow stripe. Our harness does not have the green with the yellow stripe. You would have 2 green with yellow stripe wires. One's for AC and the other one you do not use, which our harness did not have that one. Okay, the black with the red stripe wire right there, we've took the insulation off of it because we're going to tie in two wires. We're going to tie in the brown wire and the blue with a red stripe wire. We're going to tie the brown and the blue with the red stripe wire together. We're going to dip them in flux. Now we're going to twist those wires onto the bare wire there. And then we're going to solder it on. The reason we're doing this is the brown and the blue with the red stripe wires need 12 volt switch power. And that's why we're wiring them into the main ignition power wire, which is this one here. It's the black with the red stripe. Okay, after everything is finished up, you have the green with the blue stripe wire left. That is the only wire left. You're going to just cut it off and tape it up into the loom. Tape it where it will not short out on any wire. Okay, if you want to repin your connectors, they will all work except for the green with the yellow stripe, which is the AC relay. It goes from a small pin to a big pin. So you would have to cut your small pin off and solder in a big pin, which you could get off the KA harness. Your next one would be the black with the yellow stripe, which is the idle air control. It goes from a big pin to a small pin. So again, you'd have to cut your big pin off and solder in a small pin, which you can get off your KA harness. But other than that, they should all plug in just fine. Okay, first of all, you need to take a flathead screwdriver and pull the little plastic piece out of the clip there. It just slides right out. And then you want to stick a flathead screwdriver inside the hole there. And there's a little prong in there you need to pop over to the side, and that will release the wire. Then you'll be able to pull the wire straight out the back. Just like that. Okay, on the big plug you need to remove the piece of black plastic. Take a screwdriver and pop it off on the sides. Just like that. Okay, on the small connector here you have little black pieces you need to remove. We'll show you how to remove those. Okay, the harness we got with our motor was a automatic harness, so we're going to change the TPS plug on it. We have a 5-speed TPS plug on the left there. It's a 3-wire plug. The auto harness is a 6-wire plug, but there are 3 wires that we're going to use, and there's 3 wires we're not going to use on that plug. The wires we are going to use are the light green with a red stripe, the white, and the black. What the light green with the red stripe is the TPS power output. The white wire is the TPS input, and the black wire is the ground. We're going to cut the auto TPS plug off the harness. Cut off kind of close to the connector. Now we're going to cut the TPS wire off the extra wire we got. Cut it as long as you can. And we're going to take the insulation and tape off that connector. The white wire is a shielded wire. You just want to cut the insulation off the shielded wire. And you have wire going around. You just want to take it all together, twist it up, and cut it off, because we're not going to use that. Make sure after you've cut your insulation wire that it never touches anything. Make sure it's pulled back and not going to touch anything, or it will steal your ground. Which, as long as you twist it up and cut it off, you should be good. If you have a 5-speed harness, you will not have to do this. Then you want to cut the leftover 3 wires at different lengths and tape them up so they will not short each other. And you'll go ahead and tape that whole harness up there. Start at one end, go about halfway, and then come back at the other end. Okay, we're going to bring the harness in now and hook it up. Okay, first things first, you want to take the injectors and all that stuff there, sit on top of the motor, and you want to run it underneath the AC lines there. There are 2 hard lines there from the AC. You want to run all that stuff underneath there. Pull them under the hard lines and then pull them up towards the motor. We've already disconnected our brake booster line because it's going to be in the way, so you want to disconnect that too if you have yours on. Just feed everything through there and go on the firewall side of the brake booster line coming in. You want everything to go behind that. Just be patient, go slow with it, make sure you do not break any plugs or connectors or rip any wire or anything like that. After you come up to where the loop is, or the loop you removed, you'll know you've got it pulled in enough. You can also tell by the grommet that goes into the firewall for the ECU and all that stuff. But you can pull it back a little bit later if you need to, it's no big deal. Okay, now we're going to install our brake booster line back on. Okay, now we're going to install our coil pack plug. It goes down underneath that bracket there. Okay, next we're going to install our injector plugs. There's 4 of them. You got one by itself that goes to the number 4 injector, and the other 3 are all tied in one line together. Push them in until they click, and you'll be sure that they're in all the way. They'll only go in one way. Okay, now we're going to hook the two connectors up in the back. There's two right there beside each other. One's a 2-pin, one's a 4-pin. Push them until they click, connect. Again, they'll only go in one way. Next, you have two ground wires you need to ground to the manifold. There's two spots there. We only have one bolt for that because the other one's missing, so we're just going to ground both of them to the one bolt. It's a 10mm bolt. Okay, just remove the bolt, and we're going to hook the two together and then run the bolt through them and bolt it down. 10mm bolt. Go ahead and snug the bolt down. Okay, for the O2 sensor, we are not using our O2 sensor, so we're not going to hook it up, but we're just going to run it across the back of the motor through the hard lines and everything, over the top of them, just like we did the oil pressure sending unit line. And then we're just going to tie strap it to the hard lines over here. We're going to hook up the TPS plug. We're going to hook up the plug right above that. Okay, now we're going to run all the wires on this side underneath the hard line, AC hard line, and then underneath the fuel filter, and up right behind the fuse box. Again, be patient, go slow. Don't cut or break any wires or anything. Be extra careful with your igniter. You can easily break it. And now we're going to connect the chassis connectors. Remember, you do not connect the gray one with the orange plastic in the middle, just the brown one and the big gray one. They only connect in one way. Okay, we're going to run the dash plug and the ECU plug and all that stuff through the firewall now. If you're doing this alone, run the dash plug in first, and then go inside the car and make sure it's going down the right way. It should just run straight down to where it needs to go. Should have no problems. As soon as you get to the ECU plug, it's going to be a little more difficult because it's a lot longer, a lot harder to get in behind all that stuff. Just want to keep going back inside and checking, make sure everything's going good. Get everything in there running right, and go ahead and install the grommet into the firewall. Okay, now we're going to hook up the three connectors on the side of the fuse box. We're going to do the bottom one first. It's got little metal clips on the fuse box there that connectors slide onto to hold in place. Okay, now we'll do the second one. It's the black one. And then we'll do the top one. This connector right here is for your AC fan, if you're using that. As you can see, it's installed now. Runs down. This side of it goes underneath the AC lines. It comes up through there. Right there's the loop we cut off. Runs over all over this. Runs over this plug here. And then here's the TPS plug that we wired in. And then run along the front here will be your cam angle sensor plug. We're going to leave that unplugged because we got to prime the motor with oil when we get it started. Then it runs down through here underneath the fuel filter. You have these two plugs here with the white tape on them. We're not using those. This is your niter chip right here. Then it runs up top. It's going to run along the strut tower after you get your coolant overflow tank in. This plug here is not used. Then it goes to the chassis wires there. And you have one plug left over it's not used. Then we have our power steering and a mass airflow sensor wiring. It's going to run over the front of the car when we get the radiator in. And then back over here, you have the O2 sensor coming out there. Runs all the way over to here. We're not using ours, we just have it taped on there, but yours would run over there and plug in on that side of the motor. You have your two grounds here, bolted down 10mm bolt. Got two plugs here. Got your coil pack plug right there. 4 injector plugs. You have all three of your plugs beside the fuse box there. Then coming in here under the dash, you have your plastic L piece right here. It just runs behind all this right here and loops down. Then you have your ECU plug and then your dash plug here. Everything's going to run up on the ECU there, and then the dash plug's going to go up into the dash, of course. And all this is going to tuck underneath there. We'll go over that when we go to install the ECU. We have our mass airflow sensor wire, our power steering wire running across the radiator support here. It'll be tucked in underneath the radiator brackets when we install that. And coming in here, we have the power steering looping around this fuse box here, coming around, plugging into the plug right here. And the mass airflow sensor is doing the same thing, except it's going to run up here and plug in there. So we'll go ahead and plug in the mass airflow sensor plug. Now we'll take the metal clip, install it onto the plug. Just get it started on there and press it all the way up. It clips on the little clip on the bottom of it there. It won't let it come back off. We're going to run the mass airflow sensor and the power steering line through this whole. Now we're running the power steering line through. Okay, the wires are coming through right here beside the light. We're going to run them underneath the headlight and through the radiator support. Now we'll bring the power steering line through, same way. Okay, as you see, the wires are running underneath the headlight. They will not get pinched on the headlight when they go up and come back down. If you feel like they might, you can tie strap them through the hole right there. That'll be just fine. As you can see, the lines are running down through here. They're going to run underneath the radiator support all the way down. Okay, now we're going to bring the power steering plug up in the hole there beside the intercooler. Because the plug hooks right here beside the intercooler. Okay, that is connected. Now we're going to go underneath the headlight and into this hole over here. Okay, now we're going to run it underneath the mass airflow sensor and plug it in. You only go in one way. If you have the metal clip in there, you need to pull it out. Plug it in and install your metal clip back in. And your mass airflow sensor plug is installed. Okay, as far as the air fuel controller hookup, if you had the harness plug hooked into the ECU, it would look like this. So basically, looking at the picture I'm going to provide of the ECU pinout, you would take the plug and you would lay it down to the left, where the bump on top would be taller than the bump on the bottom. It's got two bumps on it, one top, one on the bottom. The one on top is going to be taller than the one on the bottom. As you can see, the one on top is taller than the one on the bottom. So as long as you got the taller one on top, that will be the top. You can go off the ECU pinout that I'm going to provide the picture for. Okay, the first thing we're going to hook up on the air fuel controller is the MAFS signal input from the MAFS signal. So you actually take the white wire on the ECU, it's number 16 pin, it's a white wire, you cut that wire in half. So you will actually have two wires, one on the ECU side and one on the harness side. And on the white wire towards the harness is the one that's going to hook to your white wire on your air fuel controller. The other side of the white wire on the harness is going to hook to the yellow wire on your air fuel controller. So basically it's tying in the yellow and the white wire from your air fuel controller from the white wire you just cut in half on the harness. Okay, the next wire on your air fuel controller is the gray wire. We're going to tie that to the white wire on pin number 20. It's the TPS wire on the ECU harness. What we're using to connect these is a tap and splice connector. Basically put both the wires in it and clamp it down. That's the way we're doing ours. You can use whatever you like. Okay, the purple wire on the air fuel controller goes to pin number 27 on the ECU harness, which is a white wire. Our wire is faded, so it does not look white, but it is white. It's number 27 pin on the ECU. It's the knock sensor. We're going to use the tap and splice connectors. All you got to do is just slide the uncut wire in on the front side, goes all the way through the connector, and the cut wire goes halfway through and butts up to the wall, and then you smash the metal pin down with whatever, and it locks it down. You do not have to install the knock sensor if you do not want to. You do not need that to get it running. You want to make sure all the wires are in there before you go to smash it down. Smash it all the way down. And when you're done smashing down, take the lid and flip it over and lock it down. And that's how that works. Okay, on the air fuel controller you have the green wire. It's going to pin number 3 on the ECU harness, which is a yellow wire with a red stripe as your tack signal. On the air fuel controller you have the red wire. It is going to pin number 47, which is a black wire with a white stripe on the ECU harness. That is your power wire. Next is the black wire on the air fuel controller. Goes to pin number 39 on the ECU harness, which is a black wire. But on this wire here, the black wire on the ECU, you're going to have two taps on this one. The black wire on the air fuel controller is going to be further away from the ECU. And then next is going to be the brown wire on your air fuel controller. It is going to hook to the exact same wire, but it's going to be closer to the ECU. Let me get you a closer shot of that. Okay, that one there is the one that's closer to the ECU. And that one there is the one that's further away from the ECU. Okay, for the ECU, you need to take the KA brackets and put them on the SR ECU. The KA is the 28, the SR is the 63. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and mount it. As you can see, the bigger one is on the bottom and the smaller one is on the top. You have two 10mm bolts to bolt it up, one on top, one on bottom. We'll go ahead and mount it up. There's no torque spec on this, just snug it up. Okay, now we're going to hook the dash plug up. We're bringing it underneath the dash. As far as the connector, the side that has the push button on it goes towards the inside of the car. It'll be actually facing you. Just press it up in there. And it should click and it goes all in. Then your dash plug is installed. Okay, now we're going to install the ECU plug. You want to take it and just start it in on the connect. You want to take the connector and start it on the ECU there. Don't press it in hard, just get it started, and then you have a 10mm bolt there. You want to thread that in. That's how you want to tighten that connector in. Because you do not want to bend any prongs on your ECU there or on the connector itself. Just tighten it up till it snugs up and you're good.